Hey, I'm excited to have Casey from Gusto. He's going to help out to understand some of the benefits, features of Gusto. I work with Casey on a regular basis to help clients to really maximize their subscription and what they're using Gusto for. I know personally, I subscribed to Gusto October 2019 and have been a big fan of Gusto. And I took about 40 clients onto Gusto at that time, and I haven't looked back. Now, it's not perfect. There's no software that's perfect. There's no customer service, but you know what? We all do the best that we can because we're human. I'm excited to introduce Casey, and I'm just going to let you introduce yourself and take it away.
Awesome, David. First of all, thanks for doing this with me. I'm super excited to talk about payroll. My name's Casey. I've been at Gusto for 2.5 years now. If you would have told me 2.5 years ago that I'd be working in payroll, I would have laughed in your face. I was a small business owner, hated payroll, hated taxes, hated all of it. Now to be working in payroll and absolutely love it is mind-blowing to me. And I'm working with folks like you, David, who are accountants, CPAs. And my job is really to advise you on how we can best take care of your clients. So I love it. It's exciting. It's fun. And I'm a big payroll nerd. So I'm excited to get on and talk about it today.
I love your energy, Casey. So let's just keep going, man. This is great. I'm curious. I know that you've told me a lot of stories about people who you've worked with, and I have a lot of stories also, but this is your time. So I'd love to hear some of the, how Gusto has helped people and your experience with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. So realistically, you have to look at Gusto as more than just payroll. I have clients that I work with right now who didn't know they needed payroll. Influencers, right? Social media influencers who are coming on doing short form videos, long form videos, and then they start blowing up. And now they're starting to really monetize their content. Well, you're a tax expert. You're the tax wizard, right? They're soon finding out that, oh my gosh, not only am I making a crazy amount of money doing this, but now there's a lot of tax liability. There's a lot of things that I didn't know. So that's where someone like you comes in. Hey, let's develop a real good tax strategy to mitigate that tax liability come end of year. But then also compliance, right? These folks are now paying W-2 employees, 1099 contractors. David, I've had my own business. I've had to pay contractors. Have you had to do 1099s at the end of the year?
Absolutely, yeah. Frequently for people, and it's a mess.
It's just confusing. It's a mess. Going back to try to amend 1099s, it's very time consuming. Things like that where Gusto can come in and just take that right off your plate. It's what I love about it. W-2 employees. We're going to file your taxes. We're going to calculate, file, remit those taxes for you, local, state, and federal. We're going to send out the W-2s at the end of the year, so you don't have to do it. And on top of that, then there's all the compliance side of things, the benefit side of things, which later on we'll get into benefits at another time deeply because it's super important. So I have one client in particular that I'm thinking about who his social media blew up, and now he's hiring friends and family as employees of his company on salary so that there's the tax benefits of all that. But then there's also the benefits and the compliance, and he's making sure that he's doing things legally in the states that he's operating in. And so that's really where Gusto comes in. It's really a whole ecosystem, not just for payroll.
Totally. Yeah. And I love the idea of set it and monitor it. Don't set it and forget it. You can't forget about it, but you have these systems, these standard operating procedures, SOPs, and you just set this up and you just let it roll. And there's so many automations with Gusto, certain rules and things that just happen because if you bring on a contractor, because I see more contractors than I do employees, because especially with the creative space and YouTube influencers, somebody might be working on a project for filming. They might go on location, hire a local person to film and to do edits or acting or whatever, costumes. And so there's all these 1099s. And if you can get it through Gusto and get those people set up with the W-9s and the checklist and just making sure that they're independent contractors, they're not employees, get all that paperwork caught up or up front, it's going to make tax season so much easier because in January, when 1099s are due, people are like, I don't know where this person is. They're ghosting me. They're not giving me the information. And if you get audited and you didn't issue a 1099, the government's going to disallow that expense. And it's sad because you might have all the receipts or you might file a federal 1099. And if you didn't file it with that particular state or even local jurisdictions, then that jurisdiction could disallow it, even though you filed the federal. So there's so much compliance. Oh my gosh, 1099s are just, yeah, it's a lot.
And that's what I love about, it's really what I love about what I'm doing. Let's take something that you already have to do. This is not an option in business, right? This is not an optional thing you have to do. It has to be done. Let's take that off your plate affordably. And that's the other great thing, is that we're not trying to nickel and dime people. We can come in, charge a fair price. We're not going to charge you for every little extra thing. It's here's your price, that's your price, it's up front. But then let us just take all that off your plate and do it and have some fun while we're doing it.
Exactly. And the fun comes when you don't have to think about it, and you don't have to think about the taxing agency coming back and being like a nightmare. It's a nightmare dealing with these taxing agencies. It's just they're big agencies and there's so much paperwork. You just let Gusto deal with those notices for payroll. What I find with notices is that the government messes up, and then they send a notice and it's wrong or various reasons. But then having Gusto handle that and do the correspondence, it just saves everybody so much time.
And literally, it's just uploading it to your portal. Hey, I got a notice. Here you go. Take care of it. And then our team jumps on it and starts taking care of it. So easy.
Yep. So I love. So you mentioned also you work with some influencers, and that's the space that I'm in. And it's interesting because there's a different maybe dynamics with the influencers, right? Because I can hire so many more independent contractors, as well as maybe they're setting themselves up on an S corp and maybe hiring their kids or putting people on board of directors, and you might have reimbursements, and the reimbursements might have to have a 1099 if it's not set up correctly. So there's all these things. So I'm curious, like some of your experience, because I have a lot of experiences, but I'd love to hear from you how Gusto has helped.
Yeah, absolutely. The key was having a tax professional let them know first and foremost that, hey, now you have these liabilities and here's how we're going to mitigate them. But first and foremost, we're going to automate so many processes like you said before, right? We can automate salaries, we can automate payments, all of those things. All of your tax is going to be calculated and paid and taken care of. You don't have to do anything. You just got to run that payroll. We're going to do everything else on the back end. What I find, especially with a lot of these influencers and social media personalities now, who are now getting these businesses organically, right? They've got a following and now they just have a business. They have income. They've never ran a business. They didn't go to school for business administration. They got on TikTok and made some really great content, and now they're making money off of it. And hey, another great thing, if you have any W-2 employees, you got to pay state taxes, income, social security, or unemployment. You have to pay those state taxes. How do you register for that? Let Gusto. We have a partner guideline who will do those state tax registrations for you. Really, Gusto as a whole is to take as much off of your client's plate as possible and bring it onto our own so that you can focus on what really matters, running a business. That's why you're doing it, is to make money and to run a business and to take care of your employees. So as much time as I can give back to you to focus on that, oh man, that's a good day. That's what makes me happy. Cool. I got this. You go take care of what's important.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what's important for me, it's funny because I was communicating with my wife and I'm meeting with you, and she's, oh, I love Gusto. I love seeing your paycheck come in to our bank account and it says Gusto on it. She's, I love Gusto. Yeah, me too.
We definitely appreciate the partnership too. And that's another thing, is what I like about what you and I do together is you're really the wizard, right? You're the guy behind the curtain who's creating these amazing strategies. And then with us working so closely together, you can come to me and say, hey, here's client ABC. This is what we need to do for them. Here's how we need it to get set up. And then I can jump in and work my magic on the payroll side. So it's an exciting partnership. I'm loving it.
Nice. Ditto. Yeah, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. I see people go to other payroll companies or they try to do it themselves. And also payroll companies that I see and I don't want to name any names, but like they don't integrate well with QuickBooks or Xero, even if it's in QuickBooks and it's a QuickBooks thing. I said I wasn't going to name, but there's a reason to have a speed bump to slow things down and to have a separate entity such as Gusto to do the payroll and not have it within the Xero QuickBooks that itself, because it's like a checks and balance. It's a way to create an internal audit to make sure things are done right. In my own personal story, where I have spent time going back and redoing my own 1099s because I messed up when I was using QuickBooks to issue the 1099s. And again, nothing wrong. It was all me.
Yeah.
There was something that was a data input error and something went awry. And I'm like, I can't afford to do that anymore. I've got to run all my 1099s through Gusto. And it just simplified things because there was an internal control. I didn't have to think about it because all the payments went out. And then if there was any mistakes, I would be like, hey, Gusto, there was a mistake. I didn't have to go back and worry about and do that because it was going to be taken care of through Gusto. And I don't have to worry about them messing up because the amount that I'm going 1099s and W-2s, that's all they do. So separating out, and it just makes a lot of sense to compartmentalize, have the internal control to make sure that there's a stopgap. And the same thing with employees, like issuing checks, whatever. Somebody might change the check. I know I have several clients who still issue paper checks.
Yeah.
And the concern is a fraud, right? They change something on the check and then it's for a lot more, and whatever happens, right? The check might get stolen versus having electronic deposit or the check mailed out. There's other internal controls that we can do, and that's where I love having Gusto because of the integration and the internal controls. So it makes life a lot easier and it saves time because there's that old saying, if you want to double your work, stop doing things 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Increase your productivity, just do it once. And that's where Gusto, I think, really shines because it helps to do things once instead of 2 or 3 times and eliminating those headaches.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. The integrations in our product team is incredible. QuickBooks, Xero, they are accounting softwares. That is what they excel in, and they're amazing at it. So we've designed our integrations so that, use them for your accounting. Absolutely do that. But let us send the information into your accounting software and let us streamline everything. Electronic, it blows my mind that people are still paying by check. It's 2024. I love getting that little notification on payday that, hey, that money's already in your account. I don't got to go stand in line at the bank. I don't got to sit through the drive-through. Put that money in your employee's account. Get it taken care of. I agree with you 100%.
Absolutely. And then other things that I like about Gusto is that the interface, it's really good on the computer as well as on the phone app. And so having team members, have employees be able to track their own time and then you can approve it, and just cuts down so much time. You don't have to, like, I know other payroll companies, you have to call in or you have to do a certain thing and it's double. You have to do so much manual work, and Gusto just makes it easy. It's, hey, have the employees track their time here and then it's just approved.
Yeah.
Or a contractor. And that just, it's increasing productivity. It's double entry. It's a double check. And I really like the user interface on the phone and on the desktop. And it's easy to get in and out. You can set up multi-factor authentication. It's easy to do, making sure that's done because data security is a big deal. And there's just a lot of great things. And I know Gusto has continued to improve certain aspects of, there's always new improvements coming out, and the partner program, the people advisory, there's all these great things that Gusto is doing. I'm curious, like sneak peeks, is there anything that has been released as far as that's on the project board that maybe is like exciting and new that you could share?
I might get in trouble for this, and I hope I don't, but I'm so excited. We're actually here in the next couple months going to have scheduling so that it makes sense. If you're tracking time in Gusto and your employees are doing everything already in Gusto, why not do your scheduling in Gusto? Send out schedules to your employees' profiles. They can see their schedule. They can track their hours all in one place. So that's very exciting coming out. And then we're also going to have very soon, when you come to Gusto, right, there's a lot of trepidation about switching payroll providers. A lot of people get really nervous. They think it's this huge undertaking. And depending on your employee size, it can be. So a couple things. One, we have a migration service. If you have 10 or more employees, let us do that. We'll go into your old provider. We'll pull the records. We'll bring them into Gusto. We'll handle that. If you have less than, it's a little bit lighter of a lift, but one of the biggest hangups was reporting previous payroll records. It was a manual process, and with using some AI and different technology, you're going to be able to just upload payroll records into Gusto. The AI is going to recognize what those numbers are, where those fields go, and make that process a lot more streamlined, making the transition easier. I know we've talked recently about how a lot of people think you have to start payroll in January. If you're going to change providers, start at the beginning of the year. And I get it, right? Clean break, started a new year, but it's really not the case, right? I think October's much better than January to switch. And the reason I say that is for a couple of reasons. One, some providers charge for things like end of year filings. They charge for things like W-2s, 1099s. They charge for those things. Gusto doesn't. It's all included in your monthly price. So then not only are you getting started in a fresh quarter, which is just as good as a new year, it's a fresh quarter. Gusto's handling all those end of year tasks for you, most times cheaper. And then also come end of year, come January, you have a lot of other things to be worried about than switching your payroll provider and getting everybody onboarded during really the busiest times of the year. We're really trying to streamline that process so that making a switch mid-year is a lot smoother of a process than it ever has been before. It's been easy. It's not a huge undertaking, but let's make it easier. If you have folks who are listening who are going to work with you on tax strategies and things like that, let's have a conversation. Let's take a look at an October. Let's take a look at or January even, and show you how we can help you bring all that stuff into Gusto, because it's so much more than payroll too.
Exactly, and I transitioned Anvil Tax, and like I said, those 40 clients in October back in 2019, just because we want to avoid that end of the year and this transition of who's doing what, and so that fourth quarter is pivotal. But it takes us time now to start. This is August. Start doing that prep work, getting all the ducks in a row. What I find, Casey, it's just people are busy. And it's like they don't know where this document and that document, and so it's a matter of cleaning house and to reorganize and to spend this time, if people are going to transition, to get ready for that transition, making sure that they got everything documented up to this point. Where are all those records? Are they backed up? And making sure that we have a clean slate, because sometimes people just don't have that organization. So if we look at bigger picture of what is, and I get passionate about succession planning, I get passionate about changing hands and what happens that icy road incident, God forbid, like something happens and you slip off the road and you're not able to come to work the next day because you're in the hospital, and God forbid things just don't work out. So you want to make sure that you've got key people in place, and you know for your spouse and your partners where things are at, and so document, and that's the key here. So often taking this time to document, and nobody wants to do that. It's heavy, it's burdensome, it's not fun, it's defense instead of offense. However, as we know, defense wins championships and offense wins games. And it's about the boring stuff of life that actually makes the millions and billions of dollars. You look at Google, because Google's doing a lot of boring stuff. Right? They control calendars, and they control schedules, and they control emails. They know where people are at. And so then you take a trip and they know, hey, you like this type of coffee, you like this type of breakfast or paper. And so they deliver it to you, and they give you promotions and ads, and they sell ads for that particular thing. And it's easy. They make it easy. But that's the boring stuff. And that's what we're doing, is helping your life to be easier by systematizing it and coming up with those strategies, but also saving time. And in my definition of a tax is anything, an expense that would increase if your income increases. And so what happens, especially with like death tax or just wasting time doing things 2 or 3 times, it's a waste. That to me is a tax. Let's eliminate that thing legally, ethically, morally, and avoid doing things 2 or 3 times, overpaying when we don't have to overpay. And so that's what I get excited about, because Gusto does the boring things. And I saw some commercial of a banking thing recently, and they're like, we did the boring stuff. And at the end, they're like, that's pretty exciting, actually, because we do the boring stuff, and then you can do the exciting stuff. And so it's like, focus upon what you do best and let go of the rest. And it just makes a lot of sense. And I think Gusto is definitely reaching out, and especially you coming on board with Gusto, Casey, and your personality, and you're bubbly, and it's like you're alive. And I love your energy, and we get along. And so that's why I wanted to do this show and communicate people behind Gusto. It's like there's businesses, and we're so high tech, but we need to be high touch. So high tech, high touch, using AI, using all these systems, but making sure that there's people, and because the people is really what matters. And so this has been great. And I thanks for those tips about the October. And I'm excited because that is a good time and planning now to make that transition to save money, because I think that we can save money. I believe that Gusto is actually easier to use, it's less expensive, and there's more bells and whistles, and it integrates well with other accounting software. It just makes a lot of sense. And so I know some people, they've had a bad experience. That's unfortunate. Let's try to rectify that. Let's try to bring those people back and say, hey, this is an isolated incident, or this is what happened. Let's figure this out. And so there's always going to be a negative review. I'm sure Gusto has they've got thousands and thousands of customers, and something's going to happen. We're human. But let's try to fix those mistakes. And that's why Casey's here. And Gusto's, I think, working hard, has the intent to have this people to people and to make sure that people are being taken care of. And that's where I'm here, is to help, to guide, because payroll is complicated. It can be, right? And especially if you don't do it very often, and setting up payroll can be complicated. And that's where I have checklists and standard operating procedures to help people to register for the right agency, and then to actually execute and to monitor, not set and forget, but set and monitor, and make sure that it's being done correctly. Because with estimated quarterly taxes, we have to adjust it. And usually people on payroll, if they're paying themselves an S Corp, have to adjust monthly, or we adjust quarterly. So we look at a quarter and say, okay, the next quarter we need to go up or down on your withholdings, and we make those adjustments accordingly. And having Gusto is, again, I've got some clients, the majority of my clients are in Gusto, but there's other people that don't have Gusto, and I can't advise, I can't control, I can't go just do it for them. And it just doesn't get done because that other payroll company just doesn't understand. So it'd be nice, again, if people are like on Gusto, then it just syncs and we have so much more control, and we can help people for those internal controls, because they give us permissions. We can't run payroll, but we can adjust payroll tax and withholdings and help make sure that things are documented correctly, and establishing new employees or vendors. And there's a lot of APIs and a lot of programs that Gusto syncs with, which is great. And so there's just a lot of great bells and whistles. And that's what, Casey, I think that you help with, is like understanding the different apps. And so I know there's a lot of apps. So I don't know, we haven't had this conversation, but I'm curious, what apps, like, how do you advise people when they think of, oh, I see this app, how do I do this? What types of services can you provide?
Yeah, so what I like to do is have a discovery conversation when you come to Gusto. Let's really talk about, what do you need? What tech stack are you using? And if we can consolidate tech stack for time tracking and different things like that, let's see what Gusto has already built into it. And if it doesn't, obviously things like your accounting, right? Xerox, QuickBooks, that's a big one. But there's different apps, such as you can integrate Slack and Google and Microsoft Workspace with your Gusto account. You can background checks. You can use Checker, connect that to your Gusto account. When you're hiring new employees, you need to do background checks. It goes through Checker. They're providing the service, but we've partnered with them, and you get charged through Gusto. All of that's in one place. We have a whole entire list on our website. I think some of the bigger ones you're going to see is sometimes you have certain timekeeping functionalities that are a little bit more specific. And so we do see some time tracking integrations. We see a lot of accounting integrations. There's different point of sale softwares, right? Where they're doing their time tracking in their point of sale. But we can sync with that point of sale to bring that information into Gusto to make it easier. So there's a ton of integrations. And so let's have a conversation, you and me, let's sit down, let's take 15 minutes and, hey, what do you really need? What are you really using? Because, Davey, that's another thing too, is a lot of people think that Gusto is, one, just payroll, and two, just for small businesses. I hear a lot of times, oh, anyone under 10 we use Gusto for. No, we've grown up a lot over the past 12 years. Like, we're a big player now, and we can handle those large clients. We can handle your large business. But we can help you with compliance, HR. We can help you with benefits. We're a benefits broker. We can help you with health benefits. We can help you with 401k. You said one day when we were talking that basically, like, employee turnover is a tax. It's huge, right? It's very expensive. Let us show you and help you retain top talent. And that's why it's such an immersive ecosystem of things, not just let me send your employees their pay and pay your taxes for you, but let's really help you run your business and do it more efficiently. Get in touch. I know David's going to put a link to get signed up, but put some time on my calendar. Let's meet. Let's talk about your business. Let's really find out where we can save you time and money and then implement that. And that's what makes me passionate. And that's why I'm such a payroll nerd. Oh, let's figure out where we can save money and make things easier. And then when you leave happy and feeling like I just did some cool things for you, makes my day, man.
Efficiency expert, right? Value add, because you're adding value to those companies, and then that makes that company even more valuable.
Yeah.
Because it's not so key person dependent upon the owner being there, and the linchpin, the bottleneck is at the top usually. So the owner of the business is the problem. And so it's like, how do we reduce that key dependency upon the owner? And so having systems, and like what you're talking about, what Gusto has already figured out and helping, but so many people just don't understand, and they need to. And that's part of this conversation is, oh, did you know? Hey, does your payroll provider do this? Oh, Gusto does that. Oh, now I have more information. So all those aha moments are so key, because we want to increase the value and help people to be more efficient so they can spend more time with their family and do things that they love to do. And some people love to work. Anyway, so getting back to efficiency and values, I get a little like stuck because I see so many people wasting time doing things 2 or 3 times when it should have just been done once. And I'm just like, why? Let's be smart about this. And some people just don't know that there's an alternative.
Yeah. That's the big things they just don't know. And you mentioned, it's really funny, some people just like to work. I'm one of those people. Like, I love spending time with my family, but when I'm at work, I love working. But I like working on things that are productive. I like to do things that are revenue generating, not just showing up to do things, right? And that's where you and I can really help everyone who's listening, like really just efficiency. I love it. It's one of my favorite words. Let's get more efficient in the things that we're already doing. Let's streamline them. Let's consolidate, right? Do it all in one place and take things off your plate.
Yeah, that sounds great. So taking things off their plates, also fees, right? So there's discounts and bonuses, not bonuses, but like incentives, sign up by a certain date, or discounts, or a referral fee, like $100 for signing up or whatever. So there's all these things. And so that's another reason to use this link, to have a consultation with me, to have a bigger picture, because payroll is a part of this bigger picture, right? The circle of services to run a business, be efficient. So that's where coming to me, and then I can chat with Casey and bring Casey on or whoever to help to really systematize and be able to provide additional support and services, because I focus upon a few things, and I try to do a few things really well and specialize, and then hand it off to other specialists to come in and save money, right? Taking extra fees, like I see some payroll companies that are just too expensive, right? And they're not providing this level of service. So let's help you to save money. And I feel like Gusto is a very reasonably priced company, and there's incentives and stuff like that. So let's have that conversation. And it's about coming to the table and talking and exploring, say, what's available.
Yeah. And when we have that initial discovery conversation, I'm going to find out what your payroll needs are, what you actually need. And then I'll present you the most cost-effective, feature-rich plan that we offer, right? So if you have a lot of employees, you're doing a lot of hiring, you need time tracking, you need HR, I'll probably show you our plus plan and show you what the HR add-on looks like. But say you're a smaller company of 2 hourly employees, you do need to track time, but maybe the simple plan with the time tracking add-on makes more sense. And that's the other fun part too, right? Let's make like a hodgepodge plan, put it together for you. That's going to give you everything that you actually need, and then get you on your way to saving money and saving time. What I'm not going to do, David, is let's not upsell people that don't need it, but this definitely lets you know we're like, hey, you're not doing anything for compliance. What's going to happen? I ran a small business for 5 years. I had no idea how much I didn't know. I paid $2,500 for a one-time 3-hour spot check on my business. Crazy expensive. Here's what you need to do. Here's where you're not doing it right. If I had something like Gusto where like for $8 a month, an additional $8 a month, I have an HR resource to reach out to and ask employee relations questions, local law compliance questions, I would have 100% used that every month that I was in business. things like that, where we can really step in and give you the resources that you need at a fraction of the cost that you can get at other places, to really safeguard it with employees, right? You want to keep that top talent like we were talking about. Safeguard the business in general. If you're a small business and you get some kind of labor dispute, those fines can be devastating to a small business. We can help mitigate that. And then just working with somebody like you where, great, we're helping you with compliance and payroll, and David, he's helping you with this amazing tax strategy that is going to really save you a lot of money. It's such a great partnership, such a great ecosystem that, like, use the link. Let's talk. Worst case scenario, you're like, hey, it's not a good fit. That's fine. But let's have the conversation and see what we can do.
Yeah, that's great. So this has been a good conversation. I'm glad that you're carved out time to chat and to share with people watching that what Gusto can do. This has been great. Thank you, Casey, for your time.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited to do some more with you.
Any other final thoughts, any things that people should be thinking about before we let them go back to their day?
The main thing for me before you go, the main thing I want you to think about is, how can I take care of myself? My physical health, my mental health, my overall health. How can I take care of my family? How can I take care of my employees? How can I do that? And then come to me and I'll let you know how I can help you do that. But just be well, be good to each other, be well. Payroll, taxes, it's not fun stuff to deal with, but we'll try to make it fun. And just thank you again for having me. This is awesome. Super exciting.
Oh, you're welcome. And my final thoughts are, friends don't let friends overpay taxes. So friends don't let friends overpay taxes. All right, until next time, blessings.